Can everyone hear me pretty well? I've done this talk many different ways, and I usually like to start these talks with a little bit of a different slice each time when I start them. And one thing I want to do tonight is teach you all something that I think is very powerful and it's very free. And it's called breath work. How many people in here do yoga? Okay, a large number of you. Well, one of the big principles of yoga is breathing, because the technique of breathing is very important, and we learn this as babies without even being taught. And one of the principles you watch when you see a baby breathe is that the baby uses their belly, and the belly comes out and the belly goes in, and they do this normal rhythmic function. As we get older, we get stressed and everything's hustle and bustle and a lot of things are going on. The next thing you know, people are breathing with their upper chest, and they're splinting and they're breathing much more slowly, or sometimes more fast depending on what's happening. What goes on with this is something called sympathetic tone, and I'm going to briefly show you guys how to try and reverse this, because there's a very important problem happening in our world that I'm acutely aware of now, and that's fast-paced society with no understanding of relaxation. And this is a very easy way to relax. And what it does is that if you groove it in on a daily basis, I usually do it 2 or 3 times a day, it's very quick, you actually will reverse your neurologic tone to be more relaxed. So it's very, very powerful, and yoga is a primary way. It comes from India, the country, and it's a version of pranayama. It's called the 4-7-8 technique, and I'm going to show you all how to do it, and I want everyone to do it at least twice so they get the rhythm. You may feel a little lightheaded the first time you do it. This is actually not abnormal. Your blood pressure, your heart rate, everything drops when you do this because that nervous system kicks in and fixes it. So the principle is real simple. You breathe in for the count of 4 through your nose, hold your breath for the count of 7, and then breathe out through your mouth for the count of 8. So it goes something like this. Anyone feel a little different? Practice it. If you have arrhythmias, anyone in the room has mitral valve prolapse who gets SVT? I do. This actually helped me cure mine. There's all kinds of arrhythmias, all kinds of different things that happen in life, and everything is based on fight or flight. So that's just your freebie for the day. Now we're going to go to the talk. Ansel Adams, beautiful, beautiful picture. No other reason. Okay, disclosures. You know, we're always supposed to do these disclosure things. I have no disclosures. All the money I get goes to my wife, so it doesn't really matter. Nobody's paying me to be here, so, you know, that's what that is. As John said, I'm an integrative pediatrician. I'm actually falling more towards what's called functional medicine now, which is a combination of old school medicine and new school medicine, which everything is based on function. My primary principle understanding now of disease is it's not based on one thing anymore. So if you have insulin problems, diabetes, everyone thinks it's only the pancreas. Well, there's a lot more to it than that. And we're finding out now that everything's connected, and that's functional medicine, integrative medicine. It's looking at the whole. Instead of going into the doctor and saying, I've got arthritis, and you get put on a drug for arthritis, what else is going on in your life? Let's look at the whole picture and try and figure out what else can be triggering this. We all know if you have Crohn's disease, one of the first things that happens when you get stressed is your disease flares up. What is that? Is it just random, or is there a connection? And there's a connection. Your brain, your gut, everything's connected. Integrative medicine. Natural design. That's why I named this talk, and I've given it a bunch of times. I am a huge fan of nature. I think nature leads us in every way possible with the right answers. If you just look outside, you'll generally find the answers. Kids know this. They spend all their time walking around looking at stuff. When we get older, we sort of give up on the simple things, and everyone tells us, stop and smell the roses. There's a reason for that. Nature teaches us, and we stop learning, and we got to go back to learning. 4 different tigers. Genetically, very similar, but they all have different coat colors. It's a genetic difference called a phenotype. It's what they look like. The genotype is very similar, but the phenotype came out a little different. We're going to talk a little bit about genetics. I'm going to try not to kill you all tonight with science, but I think everyone needs to learn a little science to understand this stuff. How many people in the room are PhDs or MDs or anything like that? That's a fair amount. How many people are just general moms and dads who want to learn? How many people are anything else? What category are you? Anyone? very well. Charles Darwin, brilliant man, way ahead of his time. A lot of the things he did, there was a great National Geographic article about, I think it was 9 months ago, that if you haven't read it, get it, read it. They did a really nice discussion on Charles Darwin and how he was so far ahead of himself. We're proving now how right he was, and it's very fascinating. Plan of this talk. I want you guys to understand how the environment influences human health in the 21st century. The environment, we're in the center for the environment. That's what we're going to talk about. Anything that externally influences your body, physical activity, nurturing, nature, toxins, pharma, herbs, you name it. Whatever happens to you, that's your environment that you live in. We're going to talk a lot about this. This is what's messing us up terribly. Mismatch of perceived environment and the place you find yourself in. When we were born, a lot of us had the genetic code from our mom because of where mom was in. And all of a sudden, we take and switch the environment. All of a sudden, the genes don't match up with the environment. Disease. Personal responsibility. I think our country's abdicated personal responsibility to a gross degree. And one of the things I want to talk about tonight is how we as a populace have to start taking personal responsibility for everything, for how we take care of people, how we take care of ourselves, how we eat, what we do with each other. I was walking in front of my favorite restaurant, Sweet Meadow Cafe, the other day, and some woman walks in front of me. I didn't know who she was. I hope she's not in the room. Threw a cigarette down. And one of my bad habits is I walk up and say, hey, I saw you drop that. Did you drop that on purpose? And she looked at me, she's like stunned. And I said, I'm sorry, I just noticed, I didn't think you wanted to dirty it, so I was going to tell you so you can pick it up and put it away. She picked it up and walked, put it away, and said, thank you, you're right. And so for what it's worth, I think we really need to work hard on teaching each other. And I think that was an example of teaching somebody in a polite way. I tried not to be mean. I touched her shoulder and said, it's okay, I just, don't do it. I'm a nutrition guy. My integrative fellowship, if it did anything for me other than learning about how to be more relaxed and all those things, is it taught me nutrition. And nutrition, I'm convinced, is the key for all of us to correct ourselves, because we're unlikely to have a great impact in a very short term on a lot of the things that we're having problems with, pollution, these things. Although we need to work hard on them, it's going to be a lot of years before we fix a lot of the big problems we have, especially with China blowing everything over the ocean. We got a lot of problems. Nutrition we can fix, and we can fix it quickly. This data is going to scare you.